Every journey gets us closer to the same truth. We all need connection.
You are watching In Conversation This Week with Miceal O'Hurley.
This is Miceal O'Hurley, and you're watching another episode of In Conversation This Week with Diplomacy in Ireland, the European diplomat. We have as our guest Mr. Yevhen Burdin, who has just escaped from Mariupol with his family. He's in the relative safety of another part of Ukraine. We won't discuss where at this point, but he's joined us to give us an update on what life was like in Mariupol in the last few weeks, while the city was besieged by Russians. Yevhen, how are you?
Thanks. I'm good. I'm in a safe place right now. So God bless my family with me, and we are okay.
When did you leave Mariupol?
We left Mariupol on 14th of March.
And how long did it take to travel to safety?
I really do not remember exactly, but it took, I guess, 5 days or 6 days, just because of we spent one night near the Mariupol in the village, and then we spent 24 hours. It took us 24 hours to come to Zaporizhia, and from Zaporizhia we moved further to the Dnipro. We spent 2 days in Dnipro. Then from Dnipro we moved to Vinnytsia. In Vinnytsia city we spent one night, and next day we came to Chernivtsi. Now we are in Chernivtsi, on the western part of Ukraine.
Yevhen, what was life like in Mariupol from the beginning of the war? And well, I say the beginning of the war has been going on for 8 years. From the beginning of the latest escalation by Russia until the time you left on the 14th of March. Tell me how life progressed during that period, if you can.
5 years ago, I moved from Mariupol to Kiev. On 19th of February, my family and I decided to come to Mariupol on vacation. So on this vacation, I will never forget. So on 19th of February, we came to Mariupol. On 21st of February, we celebrated my mother's birthday. On 23rd of February, we gathered together with my family, with my grandparents at the apartment. So I don't know if you know, but 23rd of February was like a day of army in Soviet and in the past of Ukraine. And my grandfather is a military person in the past, and we, for tradition, we spent the 23rd February in the family circle. And in this day, my grandmother said me that Russia will never attack Ukraine. And on 24th of February, Russia attacked Ukraine.
What were your first experiences of the attack?
So we woke up at 5 a.m. From the explosion of the missile near our house. So we opened all of our devices in order to check the news. And we discovered that the war began. So right after this discovering, I with my father decided to prepare our bomb shelter. It is something like a bomb shelter, but it is not as strong as you can imagine. So we decided to prepare the bomb shelter to clean up everything, just because of it was just a store place for something unnecessary, So we cleaned it up, prepared the beds or something like that. So we prepared places where we can lie and sleep. The whole day, this first day, we actually spent at our apartment on the second floor. Sometimes we moved to the bomb shelter when we heard the explosions. But in some time, we understood that it was far away from us, but we were scared a lot.
Understandably so. At what point did you start to experience Russian soldiers on the streets of Mariupol?
I didn't see Russian soldiers on the streets of Mariupol. So you need to understand that Mariupol is a big city, and it was attacked from the different sides. We just heard and we just saw the artillery. We just felt that, and we didn't see Russian tanks in my district. I mean, in my district.
One of the complaints made by Vladimir Putin is that Ukraine was in the hands of Nazis, fascists, and that Russia had to come to the rescue of the Ukrainian people and those who identified as ethnic Russians. Did you have any sense that there was a government controlled by fascists in Mariupol or in other parts of Ukraine?
There is no any sense in these words. You need to understand that Mariupol is mostly Russian speakers are living there. So there are a lot of ethnic Russians. My father is Russian. My grandmother and grandfather are from Kostroma, from Russian Federation. They came in Mariupol in 60s because of my grandfather was a military person. So he served in Mariupol and stayed in Ukraine. We are Russian-speaking family. All of us speak Russian. And in most part, Mariupol is a Russian-speaking city.
You identify as a Russian speaker. Do you identify as a Ukrainian?
For sure.
So it is possible, and correct me if I'm wrong, it is possible to be a Russian speaker and identify as a Ukrainian.
Half of our country speaks Russian. Of course, we are Ukrainians who speaks Russian. Of course, I speak Ukrainian also.
One of the myths that survives in the West, to the great extent propagated by Russian propaganda, is that if you speak Russian, you are pro-Russian. That's not been my experience. Is it your experience?
No, it is not our experience.
So it's not language that makes one a Ukrainian. It's you can identify as a Ukrainian and still have a diverse cultural and linguistic history. Do I have that right?
Yes, you're right. So my father is Russian by nation. And my mother is Greek by nation. Mariupol is a Greek city. Historically, it is founded by Greek people. So my mother is Greek. But we are all Ukrainians. We are living in Ukraine. We are living in Ukrainian city. Mariupol is Ukraine.
The mayor in Mariupol has announced that the city has now fallen to Russian control. That's yet to be verified, but he's been very accurate to date. He says that 90% of the buildings have been damaged, 40% have been reduced to rubble, and more than 5,000 civilians have been killed. Would you have any personal experience that would say that that is accurate? Did you see any of this? Can you speak to it?
Partly, I can agree with that. 90% of buildings are destroyed. That is truth. My house is destroyed. We had two direct rockets, two direct fallings in my house. So my house is destroyed. Of course, some of apartments are still alive, I may say, but mostly it is destroyed. Speaking about the rest of the city, it is destroyed absolutely. So there are some houses without walls at all, just cells. Speaking about the quantity of murdered people, I guess it is much more than 5,000 of civils.
How did you survive the missile attacks on your home?
So you need to understand that Mariupol was under attack 24 hours per day. Of course, there was some pauses, but mostly we were under attack. So we needed to cook food. We needed to make the fireplaces. We needed to cut the trees. So all these duties we made actually under attack, under shelling. But when it was falling near us, we actually felt it, and in that case, we escaped to the bomb shelters.
How old is your child, Yevhen?
9 months.
It must have been a horrifying experience for you and your wife with such a small child and your parents. How is everybody emotionally?
Bad situation emotionally right now. So every day, my wife, every day, my mother, they are crying every day.
The Red Cross withdrew from Mariupol a couple of weeks ago. Have you heard any news that the International Committee of the Red Cross has now established a center in Rostov-on-Don in Russia? Has that news reached you? Do you have any thoughts on that?
If you're speaking about the help from them, there was no any help in Mariupol from them.
Where were you getting your supplies on a daily basis?
No, there was no any supply. That was just the food and water which we prepared before the war. That not before the war, in the first day of the war.
Was there?
You need to understand that just in 3 days in Mariupol, all of the food markets, aptekas, pharmaceutical malls, pharmaceutical shops, have been, how to say it, maradiers. So everything was stolen there. So it had been, it was empty. So there was no any possibility to buy food. There was no any possibility to buy even water. Nothing. So we gathered together, whole our house gathered in one bomb shelter, and brought all of the food and all of the water which they had. So we shared everything that which we had.
What motivated you to leave Mariupol? Was it running short on supplies, Was it a window where you thought it was safe to get out? Was there an announcement of a humanitarian corridor? What was it that motivated you to leave when you did?
There was no any announcement in Mariupol. You need to understand that on the fourth day of the occupation, we didn't have the mobile network. On the fifth day, we didn't have electricity. On sixth day, we didn't have gas, and on the seventh day, we didn't have water. We found one place at our apartments, neighbor apartments, where we could find the mobile network. Once per day in the evening, we tried to connect with our friends in Ukraine, which had actually the network, internet, and so on, and tried to get the more news, what was possible to get, and it was at 8 p.m. every day. We tried to contact with our friends in order to get some news. But on 14th of March, my neighbor, she actually tried to connect with her friends in Ukraine a little bit earlier at 5 p.m. And at 5 p.m. she received SMS from her friends that the green corridor had been opened and you need to try to escape from Mariupol. And it was, she wrote it like it was, it is the last chance to escape. And she came to us and announced that news, and we decided to run away because we already didn't have enough food, we already didn't have enough water. We actually collected water from the neighbor streets with the water wells. So we tried to find water wells, and it was already the humanitarian disaster. So we understood that it is not time to sit in the bomb shelter. It is time to act. It is time to escape. And we tried this corridor, and actually got fortune.
Did you leave by car, by bus, by train, by foot? How did you get out, Yevhen?
We left by car. I left my car in Kiev. I left my apartment and my car in Kiev, and we came to Mariupol by train. It was difficult for us to escape just because of my father has a small car. It was Citroën C4. You may know that car, yeah. So we actually put there inside 8 people in Citroën C4. So it can be a good advertising for the French manufacturer.
That's great war humor. I'm glad to see you still have a sense of spirit. Yevhen, a lot of people are wondering why Mariupol was such a target for the Russians. Some say it was because of the Azov battalion and their links to right-wing neo-Nazis. Others say it was a strategic point for the Russians. What do you believe?
Putler cannot manage that people in Mariupol and people in Ukraine do not support him and do not support Russian future of Ukraine. So I guess that he thought that Mariupol citizens, Kharkiv citizens, Kherson, Sumy citizens, and so most of these cities are Russian Russian language speakers there. And most of these cities are resisting right now. So I guess that is some personal, I don't know, something personal for him, that we are not supporting him, and that's why he destroys. He's destroying our cities.
We can't crawl inside the mind of Vladimir Putin, and God knows we wouldn't want to. But there is a growing sense that with Ukrainian forces pushing back the Russians outside of the Ring of Fire, Kyiv fighting back heroically in Kharkiv and Kherson, all over the country, that the more successful Ukrainian troops are, the more willing to take risk Russia will become, whether it's with chemical weapons, nuclear, biological, or using smart missiles like the hypersonic missiles they've launched against Lviv in the west. Do you believe that Russia has an appetite to continue this war, or do you believe Ukraine, as it becomes more successful on the battlefield, will only be punished more by Russian technology?
Last month showed us that all unexpected things actually had been implemented. I mean, nobody expected that will be a full-scale war in Ukraine. But unfortunately, we have this situation right now in our country. Speaking about the nuclear weapons, speaking about the chemical weapons, I do not believe it, just because of the location of the Russia and the location of the Belarusian near us. So once they will attack us with nuclear weapons, they will be under attack as well. And for sure, I hope the clean mind of the officers in this army, I guess that there are people who we can call people still in the Russian army, and I hope that they will not agree with this order. They will decline this order, and I hope for that.
I've spoken to a number of Ukrainians who have either left the country or are fighting, or like yourself, are displaced. And they've voiced a sense of anger that the West has not closed the skies, acted more quickly to supply defensive weapons, or even humanitarian supplies. Do you have a sense of what you and your friends are feeling at this time?
Actually, I expect more activity from the Western part of our world. I hope for support of Euro Union. I hope for support of the US. We really need more weapons. We really need something to defend ourselves from the sky. That is what we need, because Mariupol mostly had been destroyed by air attacks. Kharkiv is destroyed by air attacks. They do not manage to do something on land. They are bad fighters. That's why they are attacking us by air. And we need weapons to kick off their planes. That is what we need, actually. And that is my understanding, because when I was in Mariupol, It was an everyday practice for us just to watch on how planes destroy our city.
One of the things that happens in every war is the initial response is to defend your country, and it transitions over time in defending your friends and colleagues and comrades. Let me ask you, what is it that you and your generation are fighting for at this time? Is it the government? Is it the Constitution? Is it survival? What are you fighting for?
Freedom. That is our freedom. That is our future. That is what we actually can will to our children. Freedom and opportunity to open world, opportunity to get good quality education, opportunity to travel. That is freedom. That is for what we are fighting actually in Ukraine.
I want to end this by asking you, what will you do now that you're displaced? Are you able to find housing? Will you be able to continue your work? What will life be like for you as a displaced person?
First of all, I hope that my apartment in Kiev will be untouchable, and I will revert back to Kiev. Right now in Chernivtsi, we found the rental apartment. It is pretty good with the normal price, because of there are a lot of speculations in regards of this situation. So the prices are increasing every day here on the western part of Ukraine, and people trying to earn money on the situation of this, on this bad situation. This actually, it is disaster.
Are there goods for you to buy? Can you buy food? Can you buy essentials?
Yes. It is a case situation with this. It is everything wherever you want, you can buy here. So when speaking about the work, yeah, my company actually wrote back to the work. So we are in full operation mode right now. So we are international company, the third largest in the world. So we have a lot of shipments through all over the world, and of course we have we have businesses which are still alive. We have businesses which give us money, and we are working. Somebody needs to pay duties. Somebody needs to support our army. Business should wake up and support our army from the back. Speaking about my family, my wife and my son, so my willing is to transfer them now to European Union. My company is helping us with that, but they are refusing, just because of they do not want to run away without me. They are afraid of this situation, to be alone in the foreign country. I wish my father will be here for sure, and if it will be necessary, actually it is necessary now, we will take weapons in our arms. We will defend our country as well.
Yevhen, if you could sit down and speak to the decision makers of the world, what would you say to them now? What would you ask of them?
Close the sky in Ukraine, or at least give us weapons which can help us to fight in the air. Because in land attack, they do not know how to fight, actually. They do not know how to battle. They are weak. And I guess all of the world should understand that they are weak. There is nothing to be afraid of.
Yevhen, I want to thank you for your time. I want to compliment you on having such a good wife that she and your child want to stay with you. I hope you get them to safety. All of my best to you and your parents. I wish you every bit of safety and success. I appreciate that you've gone back to work. You're creating revenue for Ukraine so that the country can continue to operate. I'm sorry for the loss of your home in Mariupol. We can only hope that your home in Kyiv is still there. I want to thank you for giving witness to what life has been like for this past month. Do you have any last words before we go?
Thousands of people are still there in Mariupol. Half of my family is still there. My wife lost connection with her father, so she can't find him. He lost the contact with her aunts, uncles, and grandparents. The same for me. So my grandparents are still there. 2 days ago, we actually found the information that they are alive, and actually it made us feel a little bit better. But we all know that all of the apartments in Mariupol, which are in normal conditions, they are currently accommodated by the Russian troops, and a lot of marauders there, and we feel like our relatives are in danger at the moment, and we need somehow find a way how to help them to escape. Red Cross organization, if they establish that they're how you say it, they established in Rostov-on-Don
Offices to support people from Mariupol who have been forcibly taken to Russia.
Yeah, all of these Ukrainians had been forcibly taken to Russia, and this absolutely that is blatant injustice, actually. And I cannot understand how Red Cross organization can make it like that. They should be here in Ukraine.
There is something perverse about the idea that the Red Cross wants to help everybody in trouble, but often it is the perpetrators of war and war crimes that benefit because their land is not being attacked.
Yeah.
The Red Cross can deliver services there, and yet it is the victims of war who cannot access Red Cross services. This is Miceal O'Hurley, and we've been talking to Yevhen Burdin. He was visiting on holiday in Mariupol when this latest round of escalation took place on February 24th. He's recounted his ordeal. It's been harrowing. The Ukrainian people still need the world's help, and indeed, he's asked that it be increased. They need defensive weapons, they need humanitarian supplies, and they need the skies to be closed. This is Miceal O'Hurley with Diplomacy in Ireland, the European diplomat. Thank you for having joined us.
$300 million years ago, there was no Africa, Asia, Americas, or Europe. Just one big supercontinent, Pangea. And today, there is still a force connecting those divided by distance, reversing millions of years of rifting. Making far feel close, bringing there to here. Turkish Airlines.